Amamiya had little faith in Ishiki's abilities as a detective, considering him more a hindrance than a help, and so she sent him away from the main investigation team. This move became a source of amusement among their colleagues, especially after Ishiki's repeated blunders allowed suspects to escape 3 times. Confiding in his friend Kiku about his troubles, Isshiki was advised that his sincerity might be a liability in his line of work. Kiku, however, had an idea and gave Isshiki the address and an old photo of a man he believed could crack their serial murder case. Skeptical, Isshiki visited the address, expecting little. To his surprise, the man behind the door, Ron, a punk-looking fellow with a sharp mind, deduced Ishiki's motives before even speaking to him. Initially dismissive, Ron changed his stance when Isshiki mentioned Kiku, who was an old guardian of Ron's friend. Despite having no internet, TV, or cell phone, Ron had a knack for deduction that was second to none. As Isshiki prepared to leave, he labeled Ron as useless. His phone rang with news from Amamiya that another murder had occurred. The news stirred Ron, who is typically disconnected from the world by taking sleeping pills for days, but the mention of the ongoing case energized him. Reluctantly, he agreed to assist Isshiki after some persuasion. At the crime scene, Ron's unusual methods were on full display as he laid down next to the corpse, conversing with it as if it could speak back. His insights into the victim's last moments were startlingly accurate, filling him with an invigorating sense of purpose. Afterward, Ron took Isshiki on a makeover spree, dressing him in flamboyant attire before leaving him at a local barber shop. There, as Isshiki relaxed, the barber unexpectedly tried to drown him by pouring water into the basin. Ron burst in just in time, and Isshiki, gasping for air, joined the chase as the barber fled. Ron anticipated the barber's moves, cornering him on a terrace. Under Ron's intense gaze, the cornered man, overwhelmed, attempted to jump, but Ishiki's quick reflexes saved him. Just as Isshiki too teetered on the edge, Ron's timely intervention saved them both, securing the suspect and bringing the tense ordeal to a close. This unlikely duo had not only cracked the case, but had forged a partnership that was as unconventional as it was effective. Ron, a once brilliant student from Blue Academy, had his career derailed by a tragic incident during a practical exercise that led to his expulsion and the denial of his detective's license. Despite this setback, Ron's passion for solving mysteries remained undimmed, using his friend Isshiki to secretly investigate cases. One day, Isshiki visited Ron, not with a high-profile case, but just to catch up. Initially uninterested, Ron perked up when Isshiki mentioned a minor theft, a stolen piggy bank. Intrigued, they visited a young girl who reported the crime. The golden piggy bank was intact but empty, with nothing else in the house. Disturbed as Ron searched the room, the girl's elder sister dismissed the theft as a fantasy. However, a remark from the younger sister sparked Ron's insight. He ordered the piggy bank smashed, revealing a crucial clue among the shards. Forensic results later showed no fingerprints from the younger sister on the coins. Ron then connected this minor case to a murder. Amamiya was investigating at the crime scene. Ron's gamble paid off. Isshiki presented a new piggy bank and revealed the truth. The elder sister had bludgeoned the victim with the original piggy bank, then hid the body in a suitcase. Confronted with evidence, she confessed in a dramatic twist. She nearly drowned herself in guilt. But Isshiki saved her just in time. As the dust settled, Ron's secret detective work drew the attention of the Blue Authority, who launched an investigation into his actions. The stakes for Ron had never been higher, setting the stage for a gripping tale of redemption and justice. Ron, after calling Isshiki to cover his shopping expenses, unexpectedly won the grand prize from a raffle, a trip to a hot spring. However, his excitement was tempered by the fact that the prize included 2 fixed-date tickets, making it impossible for him to enjoy the destination twice as he had hoped. Unbeknownst to them, a detective from Blue had taken note of Ron's travel plans. The next day, Ron and Isshiki set off for the hot springs. Their journey was filled with anticipation, fueled by tales from their driver about the mysterious and historic hot spring. However, the reality hit when they were dropped off outside a dilapidated inn. The prize was for a stay at a less than luxurious location. To their surprise, the inn manager was none other than the detective from Blue. Despite the inn's ramshackle appearance, Ron and Isshiki found solace in the hot bath, which was unexpectedly refreshing. As Isshiki pondered the pleasant legends shared by the driver, Ron revealed the darker truth of the site's history involving sacrificial rituals that once turned the waters crimson. Later in the dining room, Ron and Isshiki noticed three other groups of guests. Ron, ever the strategist, proposed a game suitable for 5 players. Their evening continued with a game of ping pong, which ended abruptly when they lost the ball on the first serve. Opting again for the warmth of the bath, their relaxation was suddenly interrupted by Amamiya, who stumbled into the men's bath in a state of distress, upset over a misunderstanding that left her fearing her crush would think her a pervert. After Amamiya retired to her room, visibly upset and slightly inebriated, Ron rallied the guests for another game. However, the evening took a chilling turn the next morning when a girl's body was discovered in the women's bath. Amamiya, last seen near the bath and still distraught, was quickly suspected by the detective from Blue. But Ron, ever protective of his friends, stepped in to defend her, setting the stage for a complex investigation led by an unofficial but keenly observant detective. Isshiki subtly signaled Ron not to get too involved, but Ron was already weaving a narrative to exonerate Amamiya. He cleverly used the local legend of a sacrificial lady to suggest her innocence, noting that Amamiya hadn't known the story, which was only mentioned in a pamphlet from their taxi ride. His convincing act even swayed the skeptical Blue detective into believing Isshiki had solved the case. As they were wrapping up, a guest mentioned seeing an eerie mist rising from the water on the night of the crime. While pondering this, Ron and Isshiki spotted a ping-pong ball floating near a discarded bath mat. Amamiya, relieved, left the investigator to Isshiki. A breakthrough came when Ron found a clue near the river, but the police interrupted them. The persistent Blue detective eavesdropped on Ron and Isshiki discussing the cause of death: heart failure. Aware of the spying, Ron startled the detective by punching the wall. Gathering everyone, Isshiki accused the victim's husband of orchestrating her death to cover up an affair with another guest, Michio. When the husband's alibi crumbled under a shaky scrutiny, he confessed, leading to his arrest. Afterward, Ron retreated to the forest, followed by Isshiki, where they encountered the Blue detective, revealing himself as Spitz Fire. Spitz desperate and doubting, Ishiki's skills pleaded for Ron's help in solving his own family's disappearance. Suspicious but touched, Ron considered helping, leaving Spitz with a glimmer of hope as he walked away. Amamiya orchestrated a joint investigation tasking Isshiki to work alongside one of the country's renowned detectives, not as a learning opportunity for Isshiki, but rather due to a personal vendetta against the brilliant but intimidating detective, Eagle Eye Kawasemi. Amamiya deliberately withheld her best operatives from Kawasemi, handing him Isshiki instead. Kawasemi, accompanied by his favorite assistant, Yamane, immediately began scrutinizing the scene with his signature tweezers upon arrival. Isshiki, feeling overlooked and underappreciated, found himself at a loss when confronted with the grisly scene of a handless truck driver. Just then, Ron appeared, disguised as a nondescript consultant. Unaware of Kawasemi's identity, Ron inadvertently attempted to win him over until Isshiki clued him in, igniting Ron's competitive spirit to solve the case before what he now called the tweezer-wielding fiend. Ron engaged Yamane, gleaning crucial details of the case. They were tracking a serial killer known for collecting his victims' hands. The plot thickened when they realized a suspect, previously slipped through Kawasemi's grasp, was now the handless victim before them. Ron, diving into analysis beside the corpse, asked for Ishiki's assistance with some distracting puppets, leading to a clumsy encounter where Isshiki, pushed aside, nearly collided with Kawasemi and instead stumbled into Yamane. The revelation followed that it was Yamane, not Kawasemi, who had let the suspect slip away, though Kawasemi had taken the blame to protect his subordinate. This clue led Ron to call Spitz, who was investigating the truck driver's home, only to discover walls adorned with images and sculptures of hands, and chillingly, 3 pairs of preserved human hands. The driver himself was the notorious hand collector. In a secretive move, Ron doused Isshiki with sugar syrup to talk privately, revealing his deductions in the seclusion of a restroom. Isshiki, now piecing together the puzzle, confronted Kawasemi and Yamane later that evening with a shocking theory. The truck driver had staged his own death as a suicide to appear as another victim, and it was Yamane who had gruesomely harvested the hands post-mortem. Yamane, faltering under the pressure of Ishiki's relentless reasoning, began to panic. Despite Kawasemi's initial disbelief, the overwhelming evidence and Yamane's eventual breakdown forced him to accept the truth. Yamane confessed, unraveling under the weight of his actions, and was promptly taken into custody by the police. When Isshiki visited Ron, he was shocked to find his friend's eyes bloodshot from binge-watching a reality show. Blending fact and fiction, a live broadcast showing a death had sent Ron racing to the TV station, determined to investigate. Arriving at the scene, Ron immediately laid beside the corpse, his trademark moves. Psychic Torage. The show's magician boldly claimed he had killed the man using psychic powers. Unfazed, Ron cheekily asked for an autograph, which Torage reluctantly provided before storming off. Their investigation led them to Yusaki, Torage's rival, who pointed out a needle mark on the victim's neck, suggesting poison. Reviewing footage, Ron uncovered a hidden deception during a reenactment. Isshiki revealed that Torage had injected the victim with a toxic needle concealed in a marker. Cornered, Torage confessed he had acted out of desperation, being blackmailed by the victim. In a dramatic twist, Ron urged Torage to end his life with the same needle. Torage manipulated, almost complied, but Isshiki intervened and was stabbed, only for Torage to reveal the needle was now harmless. Relieved yet shaken, Ron questioned his return to detective work while Isshiki stood by his side, determined to lift him from doubt. After gaining fame for solving a high-profile case that even stunned Detective Kawasemi, Isshiki and Ron were invited to a remote island to witness a meteor shower, serving as precautionary measures against potential incidents. Their guide gave them a thorough tour leading to the observatory's soundproof dome, where they met a stressed chef upset about the acoustics. Among the guests was John Grizzly, Ron's former teacher and now head of security. He explained that heightened security was due to a tragic event 10 years earlier, during which 7 people were mysteriously shot during a meteor shower, a case still unsolved. During dinner, Ron impressed everyone with his astronomical knowledge, sparking Ishiki's curiosity about his past. John revealed a dark incident from Ron's training days, leading to the revocation of his detective license. Later, as Ron slept, Isshiki stayed up to watch the meteor shower. Suddenly, the dome flung open. A gunshot rang out and Onodera was found dead, with Ron unconscious beside her with a gun in his hand. Accusations quickly fell on Ron as the dome key was found in his pocket. John reluctantly ordered Isshiki to arrest him. Desperate, Isshiki pressed Ron, who insisted his poor firearm skills made him an unlikely shooter. Convinced the truth was still hidden, Isshiki resolved to uncover the real story behind the murder under the stars. With the storm delaying police reinforcements until morning, Isshiki took it upon himself to scour the dome room once more. During his inspection, he discovered multiple bullet marks on the lights, an odd find given that only one gunshot had been reported. Trying to mimic Ron's investigative thoroughness, Isshiki flinched at the sight of Onodera's lifeless face, but the gruesome scene reminded him of the telescope in the dome, which could record certain events. Determined, he checked the computer for any footage. As Isshiki delves deeper, John suddenly appeared behind him, ladder in hand, mistaking Isshiki for an intruder. After clarifying his intentions and sharing his own investigation findings, mostly implicating Ron, John showed Isshiki the camera footage. Despite the mounting evidence against Ron, Ishiki's belief in his friend's innocence remained unshaken. John, watching the footage, had a sudden realization and urged Isshiki to release Ron immediately, confessing that he no longer believed Ron was the murderer. Once freed, Ron began piecing together the mystery, noting that the disorientation he'd felt was likely due to sleeping pills in his dinner. Meanwhile, John's own investigation uncovered fishing lines tied to the telescope, hinting at a premeditated plot. As Ron returned to his room to search for more clues, a gunshot rang out, and they witnessed John falling from a window. Rushing to the scene, Ron found a fishing thread clutched in John's hand, an ominous clue pointing to his fatal fall. With renewed urgency, Isshiki recounted the details of the first murder to Ron. Following a hunch, Ron instructed Isshiki to turn off all the lights as they adjusted to the darkness. Unraveling the clues, Orihime entered, searching for a spare flashlight. This seemingly mundane interruption sparked a crucial insight, and Ron bringing him closer to uncovering the mastermind behind the grim events under the meteor shower. Under the starlit sky, Tensions reached its zenith as Isshiki assembled everyone to unveil the mastermind behind the chilling events. All eyes were on him when he pointed to director Jumanji, accusing him of murder. Shocked, Jumanji fiercely denied the claim, arguing that Isshiki lacked solid proof, especially since Onodera had been killed in a seemingly sealed room with only Ron present. But Isshiki remained steadfast, meticulously revealing the sinister plot. He detailed how Jumanji had incapacitated Onodera and locked her and Ron inside the dome. When Onodera awoke, she unknowingly sealed her fate by locking the room and activating the telescope, which triggered a hidden gun rigged by Jumanji. The gun, concealed behind a fence and connected to the telescope by a fishing line, fired the fatal shot. As the evidence piled up, Jumanji's defiance crumbled, and he confessed. Driven by a dark past, Onodera had threatened to expose a decade-old tragedy. Jumanji. His father, the former director, had massacred staff and guests before taking his own life. The gun Jumanji used now was the same one from that horrific night, hidden to protect his father's tarnished legacy. Desperate to escape justice, Jumanji attempted suicide with a pill, but Ron, seeking answers about his own connection to the island, intervened too late. Jumanji collapsed, lifeless. As the typhoon waned, Isshiki alerted the authorities, while Ron noticed a symbol on under his body that matched a scar on his neck, one tied to his past as an extractor of confessions. Their departure from the island was shadowed by a deeper conspiracy. As a police officer, secretly a member of the underworld's House of M, executed Jumanji. Upon learning of Ron's ties to the island's mysteries as they sailed away, Ron questioned Ishiki's loyalty, only to have him reaffirm his commitment to their relentless pursuit of justice and truth. The boat carrying the bodies mysteriously sank, leading Ron to suspect foul play linked to the same entity that had marked him. Meanwhile, Isshiki returned to work, where Amamiya handed him a new case. Chikori from Line Weekly sought an interview with the Rising Star detective, and they headed to a coffee shop, where, to Ishiki's surprise, Ron was posing as the receptionist as they chatted. 3 other customers entered. Ron playfully convinced Isshiki to try a black sugar latte and, noticing Chikori's role as a crime reporter, suggested she could be a valuable connection. Suddenly, one customer collapsed dead after drinking her latte. The police found cyanide in her cup, making Ron, Isshiki, and the other suspects suspicious. Chikori was impressed by Ishiki's calm demeanor under pressure. Expecting him to solve the case, Ron, subtly boosted, issued his profile, urging Chikori to keep in touch for future stories. As Isshiki interrogated suspects, he trusted Ron, but realized the improbability of targeting the victim with a poisoned drink. Following Ron's hint, he reviewed photos on the victims and Chikori's phones, leading to a breakthrough. As Isshiki pieced the clues together, Ron returned with crucial evidence. Sensing a confrontation, Isshiki warned Chikori to hide anything dangerous. Knowing Ron's flair for drama gathering everyone, Isshiki revealed the culprit, a jealous girl who had handed the victim her poisoned coffee. As Ron coaxed a confession through intense measures, Isshiki intervened, preventing further tragedy. The police arrested the murderer. With the case closed, Ron resumed teasing Isshiki, leaving Chikori with quite a story to tell. Ron and Isshiki embarked on a new assignment. As Amamiya sent Isshiki to another city for a pressing case on the train, Ron mentioned he'd split off to handle personal matters, but would reunite in the evening. Exploring the city, Isshiki unexpectedly encountered Kawasemi, who invited him to a nearby restaurant. Isshiki noticed a subtle change in Kawasemi's demeanor, likely due to Yamane's absence. As they strolled through the busy streets, they spotted a warning about the mad chameleon, a notorious thief known for disguises. Chaos erupted as the mad chameleon struck again, right before their eyes. Isshiki gave chase, but the assailant escaped, and the student victim tragically died. Kawasemi's army sealed off the area, but the attacker remained elusive. Ron, learning of the incident, joined the investigation. His sharp analysis revealed the victims were actually scammers, misleading the authorities. Ron's insight rekindled Kawasemi's investigative prowess, leading them to the culprit, though the suspect's details were false. Setting a trap, they successfully caught the mad chameleon when he returned for the stolen phones. As they prepared to leave, Ron revealed his earlier detour was for medical tests spurred by Yusaki's concerns. The trip not only solved a critical case, but also pushed Ron to confront his own health challenges. Ron committed to aiding Spitz in solving the long-standing mystery of his missing brother, laid down his terms. He would assist only if Spitz procured the files from the infamous bloody training case at Blue Academy. Spitz agreed, driven by the urgency to uncover his brother's fate. Isshiki also disclosed to Ron that his past had included medical interventions, adding another layer of complexity to his life. Together, Ron, Spitz, and Isshiki journeyed to Yamanashi, tracing the last known steps of Spitz's brother. Their arrival wasn't welcome, as a few seemingly hostile locals masked their aggression as an accident, ominously warning the trio to tread carefully. The village they reached was embroiled in a dispute over dam construction, a conflict that had the community deeply divided. Recognized by the village chief, Spitz was invited to stay at his home that night. During dinner, the trio spotted a giant snake slithering around the guest hut, but a subsequent search revealed nothing. The following day, the unsettling discovery of a police officer's body near a waterfall dead under mysterious circumstances escalated tensions as Ron, Spitz, and Isshiki delved into their investigation. The village chief claimed that what they had witnessed was the manifestation of Yatagami, the village's revered deity who he believed had slain the officer to protect the village. The chief then guided them to the shrine of Yatagami, where the villagers' fervent belief in the deity's wrath was palpable. Amidst their exploration, they encountered Muroi, an ethnologist who shared insights into the mythical powers attributed to Yatagami, including the deity's ability to vanish, a belief he himself subscribed to. With the local police baffled and no evidence in sight, even Spitz began to feel the pull of the mythical explanations. Their skepticism was further challenged when Spitz, alone, claimed to see a massive white snake outside the window, though neither Ron nor Isshiki could confirm the sighting. This anomaly sparked a realization in Ron, who, piecing together the disparate threads with his characteristic flair, unraveled the mystery shrouding the village, the deity, and the untimely death of the officer. Isshiki convened in the village to unveil the mystery. He explained that the supposed snake sighting was merely an artifice, a painted scroll cleverly rigged to drop as someone entered the hut, creating the illusion of a snake. A real perpetrator, he revealed, had hidden under a mat and fled once they had left. Turning to the village chief, Isshiki accused him of the crime. The chief, defensive, argued the absence of a murder weapon as his alibi, but Ron subtly guided Isshiki, exposing that the murder weapon was the rope from Yatagami's shrine used to strangle the officer. Confronted with the truth, the chief confessed in a tense moment. Ron began to coerce the chief towards the waterfall, but Isshiki intervened, saving him from a fatal fall. Both stumbled but were rescued by Ron and Spitz. With the chief's guilt confirmed, he was arrested, and his granddaughter escorted the group back to her home. At the house, Ron dramatically summoned Spitz's elder brother to reveal himself, accusing him of complicity. The emotional reunion was charged as Spitz confronted his long-lost brother who explained his disappearance, initially arriving in the village to expose the chief's scheme to conceal dam construction equipment. He later uncovered sensitive information that made him a target of a powerful organization, forcing him into hiding a secret the village had protected. The government officer had discovered this and blackmailed the chief, leading to his death at the chief's hands to protect Spitz's brother. Overwhelmed with guilt, the elder brother expressed a desire to surrender, but Ron decided to leave the resolution to Spitz and Mai, who harbored feelings for Spitz's brother. Meanwhile, Spitz faced his own challenges, trying to retrieve the bloody training files from Blue Academy. He returned empty-handed, but delivered a cryptic message from the principal, hinting that all traces of the incident had been expunged from official records. The principal, a friend of Ron's parents and deeply entrenched in the mystery surrounding their family, implied that the enigmatic House of M, linked to both the death of John Grizzly and the Academy's dark past, was orchestrating these events. Ron, absorbing the revelations, realized the gravity of his heritage. He was a scion of both the illustrious detective Sherlock Holmes and the notorious Moriarty of the House of M, embodying a legacy of both law and crime. The realization sent shivers of excitement through him as he faced a destiny intertwined with the darkest and most powerful forces.